Good morning, students. In this session, we are going to continue the testing Android applications. And in the testing part, you have a few topics that are need to be covered along with the testing, JUnit and Monkey, and how to publish your Android application. We also have to see how to use the Android preferences. So, in this session, we are going to see how to use the Android preferences. Myself, Dr. Shirisha, Associate Professor from CSE Department, MLR Institute of Technology. Using Android preferences. Android preferences means what? So, it's a framework that allows you to easily store. So, whatever the data you are developing, so it allows you to easily store and retrieve the user settings and preferences for your app. Suppose if you know, the mobile resolutions, if you see, some screens may be a smaller screens, means smaller size of the mobile phone will be smaller, and few phones are somewhat bigger, and few phones are even though bigger. So what happens if your application is running in this? There should not be any changes. There should not be any discrepancies, so that your application will run in each of the phone in the same way, in the similar way. So, who is making the application to run in the same way in all the resolutions of the screens? So, that is nothing but Android preferences. So, you need to write or you need to store the preferences in such a way your application can run in any mobile phone with any features, with any resolution size of your display screen or your layouts. So, that's a framework that allows you to easily store, retrieve. You need to store your data when your application is running. You need to retrieve the data when your application is running. So, both should be done when you are using in any of the Android phones. So, you have to give some sort of settings and preferences for the application. So, it provides ways for the users to customize the behavior, appearance of your app. See, if you are using in one phone, so the visibility, the color of your application may be some dull. Okay. If you are using the same application in another phone, it would be some brighter. Okay. And like that, according to the customization of the application and customization of your Android mobile phone, there should be a compatibility between these two, so that it can customize the behavior, how your application is going to run when you click on some button, when you slide it towards the next screen, like that, how it is going to work. Different behaviors means different activities. And the appearance of your application is the display of different components, whether they are all displaying or how it is designed, or apart from taking different margin levels which are already defined, if it is beyond the limits, then the appearance may differ. So that should not happen. So for you to save and retrieve those preferences, so this is the overview of Android preferences. First, define your preferences. What you need to do, you have to define. How to define? Define them in the XML file. So this file will contain a list of preference items that you want to allow to user to customize. Whatever the customizations you wanted to define for your application to run in any Android mobile phone, so that should be written in some sort of XML file, where in resources, in the layouts, this XML file will be stored. Okay, and load the preferences. Once you have defined, so here in the layouts, this is defined in the XML. So once that is defined, you can load them into your preference manager. You have a preference manager which can access based on this XML file that is defined and that is stored into your resources. So you can either load them from an XML resource file or programmatically. That is okay. You can either give the path, right, like resource dot layout dot some f1.xml, like that. So by using programming, that definition you can pass. You can load the preferences and display the preferences. You can display the preferences in a preference screen, which is standard UI element. So whatever the preferences you have given, even that can be seen in the screen GUI. You can either use a default preferences, the screen provided by Android, or create your custom scene. Custom screen, if you wanted to define, that can be made possible using activity underscore main.xml, which can be stored in your layouts, and those can be displayed for the users to see how it is customized. So first define, load, then what? Display the preferences. So once all the above is done, now respond to the changes. When a user changes any preference, you can respond that change by registering a listener with the preference manager. So if the preference manager is not upgraded or updated every time, then if there are some changes that have been done in your application which is customized in their own way, those changes should be known by the preference manager and it should affect the application also. So this listener will be called whenever the preference is changed and you can update the app accordingly. Now that needs to be respond, means respond to what? Respond to the changes that are made in the application. So application should be visible. Suppose application background was red color previously, now they have changed it to the light color, okay, then that changes should be affected so that your application can be changed accordingly time to time. Then save the preferences. Once everything is defined and customized and it is loaded, it is responded, then you need to save the user preferences so that when your application is closed or the user navigates away from the preference screen also, you can see those changes accordingly. So you can do this by calling a shared preferences editor class and committing the changes to the shared preferences. So shared preferences or Android preferences are used to customize the customize different values or using the XML or different layouts. So by using Android preferences, you can customize the user experience. It can make the more appealing and useful to the users. Right. Publish your Android app. The publishing policies are there. There are general process that need to be followed by every user to publish their Android application. So when you publish an Android app, first prepare an app for release. Prepare your app for release. During the preparation step, you build the release version of your application. Maybe now the latest version of your iOS may be 18.2. So that these release versions have been defined. They have to be defined while you preparing for release. So release the app to the users. So once you prepare it, then you have to release it. Now during the release step, what you have to do? You publicize, sell, distribute the release version. Users download and install the Android powered devices. So these devices has to be first installed. Whenever you get the upgrades or the version upgrades, then you need to install it. Then only it can be affected. The changes can be made to the device. So this page provides an overview of the process for preparing and publish your app. If you plan to publish Google Play, so you go to Google Play and there if you want to publish, there are some links that are being given. So release with confidence is a link that you can click on to know how the process for preparing your app for publishing can be defined. So if you use a continuous integration server, then you can configure to automate the steps outline. So go to here, internal test distribution channel, and you can just see it. This is once your application is released, then the version upgrades can be done. So then these can be helpful for the users. And once you're once you have done the multiple steps like that above, preparing for release and releasing it, okay. Now prepare your app for release is a multiple step process. So configure your app for release, build and sign the release version and test. So configure, build and test it. One testing is nothing but whatever the application you have defined, whatever the customization you have done, that should be capable, that should be run in the target devices. What is a target device? Any of the Android mobile phones. Either it is a older mobile phone or older Android application or mobile phones or the latest released Android mobile phones. So Firebase Test Lab is useful for testing across a variety of devices and configuration. So Firebase is nothing but where it is a database. It's a type of database where you can store the data and you can retrieve retrieve the data whenever it is used. So there's a 5 ways, and the test lab is useful for testing. Okay, and configure, how the configuration can be done. At a minimum, you need to make sure that logging is disabled and removed, and that your release variant has debuggable false for Groovy or is debuggable is equal to false for Kotlin script set. You should set your application version information. So configure your app for release means whenever you are wanted to release your application, so what you have to do is your log should be disabled first. Then debuggable should be false. Okay, in Kotlin, how you can do is debuggable equal to false means it will just give you whether it is false or not. Okay, so it should be false. These two should be done before you configure your application for release. Then what you have to do, you can use the Gradle build files with the release build type to build and assign a release version of your app. Gradle build means what? In your anatomy, we have seen manifest file, your Java file under your application, right? Resources, then XML, then Gradle build. In that Gradle build, if you click on that for building or for application of modules, you will have two different, right? So for that, click on that. Therefore, it will give you what are all that are defined. The release build type to build or to sign a release. Okay, release version. So all that will be set there. So what or the values that are being set, you can just go there, double click on it, and you can test it. So test the release version. So before you distribute your application, you should thoroughly test a release version, at least one target handset device, one target tablet device, and a Firebase test lab is useful for testing across variety of devices. So this testing need to be done using different tools that are available. So the testing should be done so that if it is successful, then you can happily release your application. Update app resources for release. Make sure that all app resources such as multimedia files, graphics are updated, because if they are not updated, what happens, whatever the images that are compatible with your, suppose if you have defined some images in the drawable folder to get the background or to get it displayed in your layout, then what happens, those images may not be displayed. Okay, because it is not configured properly. It is not compatible with the target device. Then what happens, those files may not be displayed. Then it will give you a worse effect. So these should be updated every time and included in your app or staged on a proper production service. And once it is updated, prepare the remote servers and services that your app depends on. So if you want, if your application wanted dynamic values of which user and which password he has defined, everything, the data needs to be stored in the server, and you have to retrieve the user essentials, users data from the Firebase or from the database. So for that you need few services to retrieve it or to store the data and all. So how to prepare? If your app depends on external services, make sure they are secure and production ready. It should be secured. When you are retrieving or when you are storing, the data is being released to the third party, then it can affect the security of your application. So make it secure. You might need to perform several other tasks for the preparation process. You need to create an account, app marketplace. If you don't have it, you can also need to create an icon for your app. You might want to prepare end user license agreement. For every application, this license agreement should be accepted, means should be clicked, enabled. Therefore, it gives the acceptance of the user that you are going to follow those policies. So to protect yourself, your organization or property rights. Okay. So when you are finished preparing app for release, you may have a signed APK file that you can distribute to the users. So these are the different steps that are there for releasing your application and upgrading the resources and all. Now how to release? Now what you have to do, you can release your Android several ways through the marketplace such as Google Play. We all know that. You can also release the apps on your own website or by sending app directly to the user. By sending an app means what? You will be sending a APK file. If I will send some APK file to you, to some mobile phone, some target device, then directly he can use that application, okay, with the Google Play. Suppose if you wanted to release into the market, then you have to, whatever so far we have discussed, you need to follow that process and you can build them and release them. So release through app marketplace. So if you want to distribute the broadest possible audience, release them through app marketplace. If you wanted to release to only to your friends, one or two, then you can either send your APK file or you can transmit the data. So Google Play is a premium marketplace for Android apps and is particularly useful to distribute your applications to a large global audience, because everyone today in today's world, they are using Android application. So everyone knows Google Play Store is a medium where it is giving you to download, where you can download all the applications that are being newly released. However, you can distribute your applications through app marketplace or multiple marketplaces. Now this is in the Google Play, you can distribute them and publicize and sell them using the Google Play Store, and you can release all your apps here, and you can access suite for developer tools that let you to analyze your sales, identify market trends and control your apps that are being distributed to. This gives access to several revenue enhancing features such as in-app billing, app licensing. If you have released it and your users are downloading and using that, so if it is payable or if it is free, then how the billing has to be done. So that all will be taken care by the Google Play Manager. And the rich array of tools and features coupled with numerous end-user community features makes Google Play premium marketplace for selling and also for buying Android applications. If you wanted to sell, you put it and release it and publicize it to all the end users. If you wanted to buy also, you can do it from the Google Play marketplace only. So this is how Google Play is playing an important role in the Android mobile phones. So prepare promotional materials. Once your app versions are released, then prepare the promotional materials, like you need to create a screenshots, videos or the graphics of how your application is going to run and what are the uses of running your application. Okay, so such things can be added. And configure options and uploading assets. So configuration options that you can do it by going to the Google Play settings, and language settings are also possible. Your application, if you wanted to change the language that is need to be displayed in the app, so that can also be customized by going to the Google Play settings. And the price you wanted to give for your app to get it downloaded or to make use of it, so that also need to be customized there. And configure the details like app type, category, content rating. So how many are using, how much content is going to display, how, if anything is missing, what is need to be added. So all such things can be known by using the reviews of the users who have used your application. So content rating. So this is the configuration options. Once you have done with all that, you can upload your promotional materials like your screenshots, videos, graphics or any text. And now you can publish the release version. If you are satisfied with all the settings that are correctly configured, now your application is ready to release for public, and click on publish. So once you publish it, it will be visible to all the end users and therefore they can be downloaded and use it. So once it is passed the reviews, your app will be live and available for download around the world. So this is how this much of steps you need to follow. These many steps you need to follow for deploying your application and for releasing your front ends, and along with the application, the pricing, the content, the materials that you are giving like screenshots, the videos, the text, the experiences of the users, how they have been used and what are the defaults that are being happened. Okay, what are the ways that can that your app can customize more. So all such things can be known once the review comments are given. So once you got a positive comments and it is a ease of use for your application is done, then it can be available for publishing. Hope you all understood. Thank you all.